It's absolutely bonkers that only a few years ago, when you said a cinematic drone, you meant a huge, heavy Cinelifter, usually 8 motor, carrying heavy and even more expensive cinematic camera. And now for only a few $100 you can get yourself a teeny tiny cinematic amateur drone. Today I have a latest example from such a drone category, the 2-inch Caddx GoFilm 20. The question though is it even cinematic for $400? Let's find out and go film yourself. That's the Caddx GoFilm 20, a pretty standard, at least from the outside, cine-whooped style of a drone. 4 motors in the upside down configuration, propellers protected by those pseudo ducts. They are not really ducts, they are only protectors. Camera in the front, antennas in the back. Because it's Caddx, it's of course equipped with the Caddx Walksnail digital FPV system, in this version with the Moonlight 4K camera. And of course the Moonlight VTX located at the bottom of the whole setup. Just below the main deck there will be a 405 flight controller, XT30 connectors, 2 antennas for the Walksnail digital FPV system and the 2.4 GHz antenna for the Express LRS. Everything in the small and compact package. From the cinematic point of view, this drone implements a few good ideas. First, the camera. The Moonlight camera and of course the VTX combo is probably the best Walksnail compatible camera on the market. It offers 4K recording even up to 60 frames per second, and the camera comes pre-equipped with the ND filter. And you can clearly see that the frame was actually designed around the Moonlight with the ND filter installed. Of course, it's exactly the same ND8 filter that is a part of the Moonlight kit, and it's held on the camera just by friction. I know that at this very specific moment some of you are asking, oh, but Paweł, why the ND filter is such a good idea? The ND filter is a good idea because it solves exactly one issue that majority of the cameras have. You cannot really close the aperture, and the majority of the cameras are just too sensitive, too light sensitive to be used freely in the full sunny day. The ND filter allows to lower the amount of light that is getting to the sensor, forces longer shutter time, and adds the motion blur. And motion blur is something that looks very cinematic. Let's go back to the GoFilm. Another cinematic feature of this drone is that the camera is internally damped. You see, the camera has some movement installed, and this protector on the top adds some weight, which helps to dampen the vibration. And I think it really helps fighting with the jello on the Moonlight camera. Yes, the Moonlight camera is known from the fact that it is jello sensitive. However, I think thanks to this damping system, I experienced no jello with the GoFilm 20 at all. But everything else about this drone is rather standard. Let's be honest, in 2024, reinventing a cine whoop idea is rather impossible. We've seen already everything. Those were the good and cinematic aspects of the GoFilm 20. You might of course ask, are there any bad sides of this drone? And the answer is that unfortunately yes. What I don't like specifically is where the micro USB connector is located. It's somewhere there under the main deck, and not every micro USB cable even fits. If the connector is too long, you will not be able to attach the cable completely. It would be very nice if the flight controller had integrated Bluetooth and maybe even the vertically exposed USB-C connector. So you do not really have to mess with correctly positioning the cable when you want to connect this. It's not the best experience, but at least it comes pre-flashed with the Betaflight. Express LRS is on board. You do not really have to connect to the configurator at all. If you have the Express LRS radio to make this thing fly, All you have to do is you have to bind the Walksnail video system, power cycle the drone 3 times to enforce the binding mode on the integrated Express LRS, and just bind. And then you are ready to fly. Does it fly? Does it fly well? And is even the footage cinematic? The answer to those questions are in this specific order. Yes, it flies, but what you really expected in 2024? A drone that does not fly? No, we are not doing that anymore. So the answer to the second question, does it fly well, is, well, for a 2-inch Cinewhoop style of a drone, I think it flies fine. Smooth, quiet, flies for a few minutes. Of course, this depends on the size of the battery and in general the flying style, and handles the flight conditions expected from the 2-inch Cinewhoop in the dignified way. But the answer to the last question, is the video footage even cinematic, is complicated. To have the cinematic footage, you have to know how to fly in the cinematic mode. That means you have to know how to handle your sticks to have a nice and smooth flying experience. If you know how to do it, then we can go to the next step. And the next step is color grading. Unfortunately, just by itself, the camera is not really producing a very cinematic footage. But don't you worry, this is exactly the same situation for almost any other action or the onboard camera we use on the drones. To have the cinematic footage, you have to color grade it. Run it through the video stabilization, for example, with the gyro flow, play a little with the gamma, saturation, white balance, add some fancy features to the footage. After you do all of that, the footage actually looks kinda cinematic. What you see on your screens for the last minute or so is the footage I recorded from the GoFilm 20 and then added some creative processing of the material in the DaVinci Resolve. By the way, this is how the footage looks directly from the camera. After color grading, from the camera. One more time after color grading, and one more time directly from the camera. If you know how to do it, not bad at all. Simple, good quality, and in general, nice drone. Here's the next video you should watch. In the meantime, this was the FPV University. I'm Paweł Spychalski. Thank you very much for watching, and like always, happy flying! By the way, do you want me to record a tutorial on how to do the color grading on the flight footage? If yes, write in the comments.